Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people, people who really care about what's true, and a bunch of hilarious people also, a lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't even remember that we had them. Trust me, as someone who's participated. And yet at the same time, and this is the amazing thing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future, get virtually no discussion at all. War, civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change, corporate power, natural resources. When was the last time you heard a legitimate debate about any of those issues? It's been a long time. Debates like that are not permitted in American media. Both political parties and their donors have reached consensus on what benefits them, and they actively collude to shut down any conversation about it. Suddenly, the United States looks very much like a one-party state. That's a depressing realization, but it's not permanent. Our current orthodoxies won't last. They're brain dead. Nobody actually believes them. Hardly anyone's life is improved by them. This moment is too inherently ridiculous to continue, and so it won't. The people in charge know this. That's why they're hysterical and aggressive. They're afraid. They've given up persuasion. They're resorting to force. But it won't work. When honest people say what's true, calmly and without embarrassment, they become powerful. At the same time, the liars who've been trying to silence them shrink, and they become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some, and that's enough. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon.
So that was Tucker Carlson last night. As soon as I heard it, Royce White was the first person I thought of. Royce, your thoughts on what Tucker had to say there?
Uniparty, uniparty, uniparty. You got to say it 3 times like Beetlejuice, right? What he's talking about is that we live under the governance of a uniparty. And, you know, for me, I love Tucker's defection. I really do. And first I want to say this. Anybody, and I said it yesterday on Twitter, but I'll say it again here, because every time we get a chance to talk, like Tucker said, it means something. And we have a fast-growing audience here on Fearless ourselves, and I think we're one of those few places that still has honest conversation. Anybody or any institution that is trying to suppress the general ability for American citizens to question the overall integrity and security of their elections is engaged in something that is patently unconstitutional. And I don't think there's a bigger example of the power of the uniparty than a company like BlackRock being invested in both Fox and Dominion, and the outcome of what we saw in Fox's lawsuit, and them bending and them folding. And not only did they fold, they folded on one of the most fundamental cornerstones, the cornerstone, you could say, one of the most fundamental pillars of American citizenship, and that's to be able to question the very integrity and legitimacy of our vote, which is most important in a constitutional republic or in a democratic process. So I love Tucker's defection, and I think he's spot on. We live under a uniparty, and it's been going on for some time.
Are you surprised by his defection? And I like that term because, you know, 10 years ago, I'm not sure, I don't think he would have done this. And I've watched Tucker, just like myself, I've watched myself, my eyes get open and then reach that point where, you know what, I got to defect. Are you surprised that he defected at $20 million a year?
Well, I don't know all the details. I don't know if he was defected or if he was let go or what the case may be. I guess I'm not well enough informed to know at this point.
He could have played along and kept his job, Royce. He could have played along. He could have repeated all the talking points.
Well, that defection started long ago for him. I mean, I've seen. Look, Tucker was the last hope there at Fox News, and what Tucker represents really is something that all American citizens have to confront right now. The lines in the sand have been drawn. There are no more Democrats or Republicans. There are no more conservative or liberals. There are no more libertarians, or there's none of that. All there are globalists and nationalists. It's become very clear. There are people who believe in having a country, and there are people who don't believe in having a country. There are people, and even more so, even deeper, there are people who believe in God, and there are people who don't believe in God. And the two are tied. There are people who believe in having a country, who believe in American citizenship, who believe that their rights are inalienable and granted to them by a creator, which is a God-given freedom, in effect. And there are people who don't believe in that. And there are people on both sides of the aisle who have their own designs, their own ambitions to undermine American citizenship through whatever talking points. And I said it before on the show, and I'll say it again. All of this is leading us towards one, and I don't know if I answered the question about Tucker. Tucker's defection is good, and he could have played along, but he didn't, and he was the last hope, and now Fox is – everybody should defect, in my opinion. I don't know who still watches Fox, to be honest, but if they're not watching Tucker, I really don't know what they're watching. But then again, I do, Jason. I do know what they're watching. Because we on this show and the conservative movement, the Christians in this country, we all have this idea, this narrative about this country and its current standing. But in reality, both sides of the aisle have traded certain things for freedom. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Security on one side, materialism on the other side. And the two greatest examples of that, the two places that we're headed on both sides of the aisle that we're being capitulated towards, on the left, it's a welfare state. On the right, it's martial law. Those are the two sides of the same uniparty coin, right? The over-militarization of our police, the running away with our economy and our politicians from the military-industrial complex, and the merger there with corporatocracy. And on the other end, the merger with corporatocracy and NGOs and nonprofits and politicians. It's all headed towards two distinct places. Some people will give up their freedom for welfare. Some people will give up their freedom for martial law. And what I think Tucker can see now is that, by and large, all of these institutions have had a hand in pushing us towards a place where chaos permeates, and it invites people who actually believe in having a country even to beg for martial law, to beg for the welfare state. When the food runs dry, people will beg for welfare. When the chaos erupts and young black men have no foods on the shelves, so they're going to kick doors in the suburbs, white Republicans who believe in their fundamental constitutional rights will then beg for martial law, and that's how you undermine the Constitution.
Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.